Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Registered Ranching Podcast. Tucker Brown and Willie Wardle behind the mic and in a different studio today. But Willie, welcome to the pod, man.
Thank you for having me, Tucker Brown.
Of course, because if you listened to the podcast before this one, you found out that Willie is leaving.
Tucker's giving me the cut.
Yeah, giving you the cut.
It's a cutthroat environment here at Registered Ranching, and you got to be able to bring it up, just like the Bulls.
Hey, if you don't do the job, you're out.
If you don't do the job, you're out. Don't pout.
We're in Amarillo right now at the Beef Improvement Federation convention, which is like our guest, I think, was going to be able to describe what this is pretty well. But pretty cool today because we're talking to an out-of-stater.
Yeah.
All the way from Florida.
Probably closer. He's probably from closer to where I'm from than Texas.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%.
I hadn't thought about that.
100%.
Well, I do want to welcome to the pod. He's a dad. He's a rancher. He's a ranch manager. He does all types of beef industry stuff. Welcome to the podcast, Hunter Horne from North Florida.
Thanks, Tucker. Thanks, Willie. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. Glad to be here with you guys. Yeah, we're here at the Beef Improvement Federation in Amarillo, Texas, and I don't know. It's my first one, Tucker, so I don't know if I'm the best one to describe it, but I think it's full of a bunch of seed stock guys, a bunch of cow nerds, and guys that probably nerd way too much out on the data and science of this industry.
That is a great way to put it, because that's how I'd put it. I mean, like, it's a bunch of. My dad is a cattle nerd, and this is his favorite convention, if that tells you anything, because it's got all the data, all the algorithms, it's not like we're looking at cattle here, but not many times and not in many circles can you get around and talk about this deep into the data. And so when these guys get together, that's what they do.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm the same way at home, and nobody wants to hear it, so I have to come out here and talk about it.
Yeah,
it's a safe space.
It is a safe space. Yeah.
Yeah. So, ranch manager or managing a ranch, cattle operations in North Florida, seed stock producer. You feed cattle, you stock your cattle, you run commercial cattle. You've done a lot.
Yeah. So, Tucker, I've been very fortunate. From a young age, I've had some good opportunities really post-college, and I'm very thankful for those. But I manage an operation called Great Mark Western, and it was once owned by a food service company, and we supplied the beef throughout the supply chain for that. So we were tasked, all the way from commercial cows to then we even backed into seed stock and everything to kind of control the genetics, control the flow, and produce high-quality beef to put on our customers' plates. The food service company was actually divested last fall.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But in the end of things, it's been a good thing. We had a good run with them, but now we've put so much effort the past 10 years into genetics that we're kind of taking a renewed approach on helping other ranchers get their genetics to where they want them to be, fit our environment, and go forward and put a great product on consumers' plates across the beef industry.
So a lot of times, I don't think a lot of people put ranching in Florida in the same sentence. I don't think that's what people think of. To you and I, it's like that is what we think of. But to probably the normal beef consumer, beef is not what they think of when they go to Florida. And so tell us more about how that ranching in Florida combination, because there's a lot of cattle in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. When you talk to people, and we've been around the country, and you and I have traveled together before, and you hear that when everybody says I'm from Florida, you hear Mickey Mouse, and who knows there's cows in Florida? Well, Florida was first in cows, so they came here first, and of course now Texas is the biggest, but we're not small. I forget, I can't quote off the top of my head what ranking we are, but I'm pretty sure we're in top 10. Pretty year in, year out, of at least top 15. Ranching in Florida is cow-calf predominantly. We don't have a large feeding sector, and we also don't have a large packing sector, but we do grow a lot of grass, and we grow it year-round. And usually we get good rainfall to do all that with. Usually. I can't say that right now for us, but usually, yeah. So That's kind of, ranching in Florida. It's a big deal. It's the heart blood of it. Tourism is Florida's number one economic driver, and everybody knows that.
Right.
Until you have a slip up like COVID, and the second largest economic driver is agriculture.
I'll be dang.
And a lot of people don't realize that about Florida. And the cow business plays a large part in that. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot more than just 10 to 75 and down to Mickey Mouse. There's a lot of us out there in between the beaches and really making a living on the land.
Between the beaches.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. What? I wish I knew how many cattle there are, but like you get around that Okeechobee area between, in that peninsula, in the middle of that peninsula of Florida. What is the stocking rate there per acre? Because if Florida were the size of Texas, there would be an incredible amount of.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm not from Okeechobee, so I can't quote those guys down there. It's going to be high though. I mean, you're going to be in some of those places a 2 to 1 a lot of the year. When I mean in 2 acres to 1 cow-calf pair, maybe some of them 1 to 1, depending on aggressive management, rotational grazing. Everybody's different, risk tolerance as well, and willingness to feed. In our area, depending on the ranch, we operate several different ranches, but we range from a 2 to 1 to a 3.5 to 1. And that
still crazy.
Yeah, and that just depends on rainfall and environment, of course.
Yeah. I mean, to put that into perspective, I feel like we do a pretty good job of grazing and rotations, and we're at like 23 acres to 1 cow for the year. So it's a little different.
Yeah. Wow.
Just a little.
A little different. And you've made a good point that I need to bring up. Similar to how East Texas and West Texas are very different, would you say the same for South Florida and North Florida?
Yeah, absolutely. So Florida is extremely different from top to bottom. Where I'm at is kind of in that north central Florida region, in that Big Bend region. We look a lot like South Georgia. We got big rolling red clay hills on most of everything, big tall longleaf pines. Some of our ranches, the farther we go east, do start to look more like that central Florida environment. We get a little wetter, water stays more. Those clay hills, it runs. So, but it's probably a little stronger soil up where we're at than South Florida. South Florida, I would say there would be an actually better environment than where we're at, mainly because, their ability, we get a winter. So a lot of people don't realize that about Florida.
You still freeze.
We freeze. Yeah, we have freeze days. We had 5 inches of snow this year, which was kind of a freak thing.
Sounds freaky. Yeah, because I remember seeing pictures of snow on the beach.
Yeah, two hurricanes and 5 inches of snow in a year. So the environmental challenges can be a task, and our grass is strong when it's strong in our area, but when it's weak, and we can't graze quite as year-round as those guys further south in that Arcadia, Okeechobee area. They're really, I would say most of those guys are 11 months out of the year.
Where's Deseret located?
So they're in St. Cloud.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that more in the southern region?
Yeah. It's kind of below Orlando, below Kissimmee, and they're actually, I don't know if you guys know the Kempfers from Florida, but they're actually kind of basically on the north side of the road from them.
Okay.
Parker's being on the pod later.
Okay, so shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Parker. He'll be on it later. But I had to grab you up here first, Wanted to get both sides because they do some seed stock too. But
absolutely, yeah.
Parker kind of hits a different side of it, being a rodeo and
a
lot of commercial. And what is it that they? You talked about Florida being the first state to have cattle.
Correct.
But before we go there, I want to hear more about Hunter. Tell us more about you, your family, because I normally do that at the beginning, but I missed it. We went right into cows here at the cattle convention.
Fun, yeah.
I know. So tell us a little more about Hunter.
And Florida. Do you have any crazy Florida stories too?
I'll have to think on that, Willie. So me, I'm Hunter, and obviously, but
no way.
Yeah, but so yeah, like you said, I've got a beautiful wife, Lauren. she's my rock back at home. Really thankful to have her. She's a stay-at-home mom, and I'm thankful for that. It allows me to run and gun and kind of do what I do. We've got a 7-month-old son named Brooks. Having a lot of fun with him.
Yeah.
And really enjoying being a new dad. Makes it tough being away from home, but also you kind of got to go and do still and get it done. But yeah, I grew up basically in the area where we're at now, in that north central Florida area. My dad worked on several large operations, whether they be hunting or cattle, growing up, and was in management roles there. And then we also, as a family, spent a short stint with him in management at a pretty large dairy to the east.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, that's kind of where I fell in love with the cows. I really liked the dairy side first, and all the science and nerdy stuff.
And then here you are.
Yeah, the commodities trading, and so that really kind of piqued my interest. And but yeah, we're there. We live on the ranch. We're very fortunate for that. We've got a good owner there and family that owns the ranch, or ranches, I should say. I started with them right out of college, and have been very fortunate to do what I'm doing.
Where'd you go to college?
Unpopular opinion here. So I actually went to Florida State, which is the arch rival of the in-state animal science school.
Yeah.
So I was a business major with a focus in real estate as well, and went and did that to try to get a business background. Coming from I wouldn't say a huge cow background all the way necessarily, nothing like you guys growing up where you grew up, but coming from a pretty heavy ag background and feeling like I was there, I went ahead and did the finance side and everything with the trading and business management. So,
is that something? That's something I hear people say they wish they did more of, rather than a animal science degree, because they feel like they got the animal science degree growing up, if they grew up in it.
Right.
And then now they're like, man, I wish I did business or finance or something to be able to bring that back home.
Yeah. So the business background has been really handy. When I started for the company, we weren't near as big as we are now, and we acquired a lot of ranches in the area. And so having that business background and having especially that real estate and finance background,
I didn't think about that.
And trying to be a part of all those acquisitions and keep us moving forward was very handy. I'm not gonna lie, that came into play. Now, I think I'd have enjoyed animal science a lot more.
Sure.
But
I could see that. I would have struggled so bad in finance, dude. Yeah. So bad.
Yeah, it wasn't the funnest. If I had to go back and do it again, I don't know what I'd do, but I don't regret it either. It's worked out phenomenally.
I'll be dang. And our wives get along very well.
They do.
That's why we get to hang out. We just have to talk our wives into it, which is pretty easy.
Yeah. They're a lot alike, I feel like, and they kind of find each other, and then so Tucker and I became friends.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. I guess we met at Florida Cattlemen's. Would have probably been the first time.
Yeah, and man, that's been what, probably 7-8 years ago.
Probably.
That's been.
You're getting old. God.
Yeah. We are getting old.
Right?
Yeah.
I
had to throw you back in there.
And then we got to go on YCC trip together, which...
Yeah, what a coincidence. That was awesome.
Dude, when I saw your name on the list, I was like, dude, let's go. I was pumped for it.
Yeah.
And it paid, that was one of the best trips I've ever taken.
Me too. What a phenomenal week. I can't say enough good things about that program.
Young Cattlemen's Conference, by
yes.
the way. If you don't know what it is, it's a 10-day trip, 9-day trip of some of the 65 of the young studs in the industry that are wanting to be a part of the beef industry as a whole, politically and involved in politics, involved in decision making, involved at the state level. You got to be involved kind of everywhere to go on this trip.
Yeah, and I thought it brought together a great group of people who, like you said, kind of young guns that had a lot of experience. A lot of people had diverse backgrounds and different experience in different things. And, man, just the connections we made.
Holy cow.
I mean, wow. Prior to this, I spent 2 days with guys that I really got to know on YCC. We traveled up here together. I mean, just lifelong friends, lifelong business connections we never would have had outside of that.
Yeah.
And we were talking in the car on the way up here. We said, we were talking about all the trades and things we've done together, just different guys in the class and cow business since that happened. I mean, we've sent bulls to West Texas, and they've, sent stuff our way, and just the amount of economic impact that one little class had in 9 or 10 days is pretty major.
Yes.
I just recommend any young person that can or wants to get involved and get to try to do something like that. Just do it. Sign up for NCBA, become a member, get involved, and go for it.
Let's get right into the involvement, because I mean, both you and I are involved, and thankfully we work at places that allow us to do that. And for folks wanting to get involved and not knowing where to start, what do you say to that?
Just show up. And a mentor of mine a long time ago, and you probably know Mr. Gene Lawless down at Buck Island Ranch. He said, the world's run by people who show up. Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
Ashby Green told me that yesterday, by the way.
Okay, so I don't think it's his original quote, but I dang sure remember him telling me that when I was in his FCLA class. And for those of you that don't know, that would be Florida Cattlemen's Leadership Academy. That was kind of the first thing I did, and that kind of hit close to home. And, really, you don't have to be that good, but if you just keep showing up, I think eventually you'll find your place. And I think just get started, become a member, show up, shake hands, go to the social hours, stay after hours and hang out and talk to people. And I think, Tucker, you hit something, nail on the head there. Fortunately, you and I both work for operations that see the value in it and allow us to do that.
Yes.
I think a lot of big hang up for people is they just can't get away.
Yeah.
Or they don't work for employers that allow it. And I think, even sitting in a management role, obviously not ownership role, but a management role, I think that could be a huge mistake people make or companies make, is going, well, that's taken away from the operation. These guys are on the payroll. Why are we paying them to be out there? And, man, it goes back to what I just said. The value you make at these things and the connections you make at these things, it's worth 10 times more than what you could be doing at home on the operation. I guarantee you.
Yeah, Willie did. I mean, you did a lot of traveling with Dale.
Yeah.
And then you get to do a lot of traveling with me. You've kind of jumped into the rodeo and ranching crowd.
Yeah, I just happened to fall in this ranching stuff.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like it a lot. There's some really fascinating, like the discussions we had last night, or really every single time there's something memorable.
Yeah.
The people that you meet, like we've seen my man's Gary with Vince.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like that's just an example. But no, I agree. Like, and like something Tucker and I say all the time is your net worth is, or your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
And I think that goes hand in hand with exactly what you're saying.
Absolutely. And I mean, Tucker, the cow business as good as anybody, but the vast majority of this business happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It happens on that cell phone in your pocket.
Yep.
And, it's never advertised.
Right.
And that's how the bulk of things trade. And so when you have that those contacts to pick up and you can make something happen within 2 or 3 phone calls, that's when you can really achieve some things in this industry, I think.
Oh, so true. So true. Yeah, and the ag industry is small enough that when you go to a show, by no matter what the show is, by the time you've shown up twice, your second time, you're seeing those people again. The same people that, if you were involved, went to the social hour, went to the sessions, like you're seeing some of those same people again, which gives you that opportunity to make that relationship. Because you and I see, even though, YCC grew our friendship, like we knew each other pretty well from the one time a year that we see each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always tell Willie, it's like we don't get to really hang out with our cattle friends, but once a year, whenever we do, it's like we've never missed a beat.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think so many of us live so far apart from each other.
Yep.
And everybody's so rural because of what we do. And thank God for that. But you have more in common. What you find, I think, is you have more in common with your friends, your cattle friends and things that are, say, in West Texas than you necessarily do with your buddy down the street.
Sure.
Just because I think you share you share more in common. You know, there's more happening in life at the same time that you can relate to.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's a? I've got my own opinion on this. Do you think there's some commonalities and differences between the cowboy culture of Florida and Texas?
Yeah, I think, and Tucker, you and I have had this conversation a lot off air, and I think the biggest thing would be the pride between the two states.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of differences. I would say even dress, maybe not so much. I think we both get hot.
Yeah.
So we have to pay attention to that. We're not wearing woolies or, or any of that stuff. You guys probably wear more chaps than we do, just because it's mesquite and everything. But
Because we're better,
well, yeah. No, I can't say that. But, yeah.
Talk
Might
about the
not be
pride
a-
thing, right?
Your legs might not be as tough as ours.
Oh, maybe.
I was gonna say there is some thorny stuff down there.
Yeah.
I know at least in Maryland there is. So I'm sure there's some pretty thorny stuff in
There's
Florida
some cat
too.
claws and
Yeah.
everything.
There's
yeah.
some stuff that'll get you.
I don't have to look for any gators.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have alligators.
Yeah, we have alligators. Yeah.
We don't have alligators where we're at.
No.
And they scare the crap out of me. I want no part of alligators or anacondas. They got all the exotic snakes that have gotten loose. I don't want no part of that.
Yeah, well, I don't want any part of the anacondas either. Thank God those haven't made them north.
Yeah, they're
we're
still south.
above that freeze line.
But what
so-
about gators? Do you have any gator encounters?
Oh, tons of them.
No thanks.
Yeah, tons of them. And when the calves get in the water holes, occasionally you'll see a pinched off tail or something like that. Yeah.
Dude, I've never had to worry. Like, I can take my dog anywhere
Yeah.
on the ranch. She can get in any tank, any water hole, and I don't have to worry about it. And anytime I hear stories about, like, man, I lost my good dog this year
Yeah.
from a gator.
They would be roughest on the cow dogs. They get hot out there working and they want to go lay belly down in that water, and you really have to keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
We had to scare one off of our crew that
Really?
got too hot last year. Yeah, we had to get off the horses and scare him back. But,
Scare the gator back.
Yeah, scare the gator back. So,
You got off your horse to go at this gator?
yeah, we did. Well, it wasn't too deep of water.
Yeah.
So we, mostly made a lot of noise and
Yeah,
got him back. But he was more scared of the people, but he wasn't scared of the dogs, obviously.
Sure,
But,
sure.
so it worked out. Everything was fine. But,
It's ridiculous.
So calm about it.
Yeah, we just
we're used to
We
it.
just
now.
got off our horses and scared it back.
Yeah,
I'd be staying on my horse running the other way.
You ever worry about horse drinking?
No, I don't. I mean, maybe the guys farther south do. I've never heard anything like that, but I'm not saying it's not possible.
Sure.
But, who knows what can happen in this crazy world. But I think the similarities in our ranching styles. And Tucker, you probably know both of them better than me, but between Texas and Florida, you've been back and forth a bunch. But, we still use cow whips, and people think those are for popping the cattle. That's not the sole purpose of those things. Those things are meant they make noise. They make a loud crack. They're using for herding tools to kind of signal direction. Some guys can signal to their dogs with them.
I'll be dang.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Whether to take pressure off or whatnot. But also I would just say, if I had to compare Florida and Texas, I would say Florida has the better dogs. Texas probably has the better horse flesh. So that would be my gross comparison.
Well, I don't see many good dogs here. Like, I could fully agree with.
I don't think I've seen a single one.
I don't, as far as cat, I know there are some good ones. Like, I know there are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just see a whole lot more dogs that get in the way than I ever see dogs that.
Well, you guys can see your cattle. We got to go find them.
Yeah, true.
What kind of dogs do you got? Like, what breed of dogs do you guys run down there?
So we kind of run them all. And I'll speak for us first and then kind of the industry as a whole.
Okay.
So for us first, we primarily specialize. We've got like Kelpie,
Yep.
Border Collie crosses, and some hanging trees. Our best ones right now would be our hanging tree
Okay.
cow dogs. And then we've also still got some old school cur dogs.
It is pretty cool when you see, like, I feel like in Texas, the dogs just don't have commands. They just send them out and they just run amok. But, like, then when I went up to Utah for the first time, Joe has a bunch of border collies, and that's what he runs. And like discipline, and like I'm imagining those dogs are pretty similar to what you guys are doing. Like come by,
Yep.
just it's pretty cool seeing like a dog that's disciplined and goes out there and like listens, puts on pressure, takes off pressure. Like, I feel like for the most part in Texas, I'm really hoping I'm not offending anyone that I know personally. I can't think of anyone, but
I'm sure you are.
I bet you are.
those dogs just run amok. Like, it's like Tucker said, they're just getting in the way. Like, they're causing way more stress. They're causing way more problems. And
Right.
But so, like, that was what I had in mind. And then Joe has these dogs come out, and I was like, oh, my goodness, like, this is pretty cool. And I'm imagining that's kind of the same operation that you guys have.
Yeah, all of our dogs have what we call a good handle on them.
Okay.
And, I mean, they've got a way come by, a down. Before we're moving big herds of cattle with them, we have to have a down on them.
Yeah.
So, or a stop.
They've all
for
gone
those of you
through
that don't
rigorous
know.
training, and you guys have
Yeah.
stock tested them and made sure that they're going to be.
Yeah,
fit
we
for
don't
the
just
job.
cut them loose.
Yeah.
I mean, for those viewers that don't know what a down is, that would just be he just lays down or sits or stops. But
Yeah.
we've got to be able to stop him so that we don't have 400 head going through a fence running crazy.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Nobody likes to build fence.
No, we don't.
So, and then the further south you get, you're going to run in, most of those guys are going to be more straight cur dog, cow dogs, like your Catahoulas, your blackmouth curs, things like that,
Yeah.
and other kind of lines of dogs that are more regional specific down there, like your pardon dogs and things like that. So, and those dogs are mainly used, they probably have a tick more nose than what we're using. We're not in as quite a rough a country as they are, so we don't have to have the nose to scent the cattle and find them and then circle and bay. We're more or less in a big pasture, and we're basically using them as outriders or additional what would be cow hands.
Yeah.
And, pushing the cattle, and, one good dog's worth about 3 good cowboys, so that's...
They're never late.
They're never late.
They're never late.
They are never late. And when we have the hurricanes, we take them in the house with us and put them in air crates, because we never know what's going to happen. We never know what fences are going to go down, what herds are going to get out. Ooh. And we have them in the garage or in the office or wherever. They're like family.
Yeah.
And we really
Dang.
look after those guys.
As you should. Yeah, they earn their spot.
Yeah, they have earned their spot.
Huh. Yeah, I think I think you hit it right on the head that there's a lot of pride, like Florida cracker cowboys. That's a term that's used quite a bit over there. Cracker cows. That's
not
the original
derogatory, by the way. That's
I was
I was going to
sure.
say,
I didn't
are
think
you
it was.
offending? Are you offending him right now?
No, the cracker cows. I don't know much about it, so I'm talking about something I don't know a ton about. But the cracker cow is a breed of cattle that was I think descended from the original Spanish cattle that came in, and so it would be more remnants of those old world cattle that they started with. And then there's a cracker horse as well.
I was about to ask about the cracker horse. Different breed.
Yeah, it's a different breed. I think it's kind of similar to quarter horse.
Yeah.
I've always wanted one. Never had one.
Really?
Yeah.
You use quarter horses?
Yeah, we use quarter horses. Yep.
I've heard, some from some of the Florida super punchers.
Yeah.
Just like we have some West Texas super punchers.
Yeah. Okay.
From some of the Florida super punchers, I've always heard that the cracker horse, not as big, but will last longer in that Florida, that native palmetto, will work harder and last longer in that. Where a quarter horse will be bigger, can drag more, but just doesn't have quite as much try as a quarter horse. That's what I've heard from the super punchers anyway.
I could get on board with that. I'm probably not punchy enough to be a Florida super puncher, but
I call them super crackers is what
super crackers. Yeah, there we go.
Florida super crackers.
I have to take their word for it. No, I want one. It's pretty funny. I've heard them when they cross them with a quarter horse, they call them a half crack.
Really?
Yeah.
That's just a half crack.
I had some friends that had
a couple half cracks.
half cracks. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any? You got to have some. What are some other things people don't think about? Like, we don't think about gators in Texas, in our part of Texas. There are some in the deep southeast.
Yeah.
There are a few gators down there, Texas. But
The humidity is probably outrageous there.
It's
It
horrible.
is sticky.
dude, first thing I remember stepping out, first time I went to a Florida ranch, my glasses just went fogged up.
Yeah.
Couldn't see a thing.
Yeah, every time you step outside, your glasses fog up. Your straw hats don't last very long. either. By the way, between the rain, the humidity, and you better have some good lacquer on that thing.
I'll be damned.
So yeah, you're going to replace that straw maybe multiple times a summer.
Yeah.
Versus out west and the dry
Sure,
humidity and lack of humidity.
Uh-huh.
There. We're very hot, very hot. And probably not as hot as they are in South Florida. I don't know what the temperature difference is. As far as difference in things, people don't know. I mean, I don't mean. East Texas has to prepare for hurricanes.
Yeah.
So, and then it's not just us. You got Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, all along the Gulf Coast there. They have to really prepare for hurricanes. But that is a major thing that we, unfortunately, have been dealing with the past few years.
Yeah, I heard you had like 3 hurricanes in like this past year or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back, man. We try to forget about them.
Yeah.
But it's been a challenging thing, and in the part of Florida I'm at, we didn't have many for like the past. I'm not good with exact dates, but I'm thinking 10, 20 years we haven't had a whole bunch, and then like all of a sudden in these past few years we've just been getting one after another after another, and our operation in particular has been so blessed. We've just, it's barely, we were right in the eye several times and it just skirted us, and we had some damage. Don't get me wrong. We had some cleanup and damage, but our neighbors and customers to the east of us, oh wow. The news doesn't cover that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Yeah. Bad news. You don't want those. No, but and everything down there, it if it crawls, it stings or bites. So, and gators included. We got all the rattlesnakes as well as the moccasins and the mosquitoes. And that's one thing I have not missed out here. I haven't had gnats or mosquitoes.
Yeah. Yeah, people talk trash about Panhandle, but
We do
Not as-
have
not as many.
mosquitoes at the already Brown Ranch.
We do
I
have
got
some.
lit up.
we do have some mosquitoes. But there's enough breeze here, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that-
They don't.
in
see it.
Amarillo that helps keep them off of you.
I was about to say, this weather is tremendous.
I was saying that yesterday. I was like, hey, weather like this in Amarillo all the time, which is a complete lie because it can get pretty rough.
I'm
Amarillo is, they call it the Windy City, like
Yeah.
it's one of the Windy Cities. And it's like when people don't think Texas is cold, you've never been to the Panhandle.
Yeah,
That
I
is the
believe that.
coldest part of Texas, man. I mean, the elevation, I think, is like over 3,000 feet here.
Wow.
In the Panhandle. And it just keeps going up as you head to the
Yeah.
Rockies.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to get fact checked on that, but it is at Throckmorton we're 1,300, 1,400 feet, and here it's much higher, even though it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Driving over here.
I believe it, though. I mean, we started, myself and some friends from YCC started
Yep.
Monday afternoon in Abilene and kind of ventured our way up here until last night and stopped at a buddy of ours, Jack Cowan's place, and Benjamin, and it's all the ranch and the grow yard and everything. And just seeing the drastic change from Abilene to him, then from him, we drove through the sixes on the way up and
Oh, yeah.
everything, and just seeing all those different, I guess, what are they, canyons, valleys. I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm a flatland boy. What's
I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
you saw the Cap Rock, and you
Yeah, the
probably
Cap
saw
Rock.
Paladera Canyon, and
yeah, okay.
I'd call them draws, probably some
Draws,
big
okay.
draws.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the terminology.
Yeah, you're right on. Yeah.
But whatever it was fantastic,
Uh-huh.
And seeing that elevation change and seeing that open ground and farm ground, you can see a lot further
Yeah.
out here than you
Yeah.
can at home.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
Florida, even though it is flat, well,
Tall trees.
I've been in the southern part more than
Southern
I have the northern. But yeah, the trees and the brush just
Mm-hmm.
prevent you from seeing anything. But I did look it up, almost 3,600 feet, almost 36.
Wow.
I think it was 34.
That's more than half a mile.
Almost 3,700 feet at
Yeah.
elevation
We're not too far above sea level, so I don't know.
at your place.
Yeah. I mean, we are at our place. We're probably 100 or 200 feet, but not. And I'll get fact checked on that too, and somebody will scream at me. But we're not far.
Well, all right. I'm going to welcome you to one of my favorite segments of
Okay.
the podcast is the Ag Gear hot seat. So we're going to ask you a series of questions. The seat may get hot because you're not wearing Ag Gear, but if you were, because these shirts are so cool, it wouldn't be hot. And that's why you go to the Ag Gear website, use code Tucker Brown. You get 15% off all Ag Gear products. You can be as cool in this perforated shirt that I am. Even Willie's not wearing any.
Ari Brown Ranch, man.
Yeah, you do
I'm
have the brand.
I'm supporting the brand.
You got the brand.
Hey,
Yeah, I can confirm the code does work. I've got the identical shirt in my bag that Tucker's
Attaboy.
got on. We got the ranch brands on them, and
Attaboy.
ordered one for all the guys at the ranch.
Come on.
With Tucker's code, so
it
we
worked.
saved a lot of money.
And it worked.
It worked.
Let's go.
They applied it across the whole order. I was surprised.
you just called him out for not wearing Ag Gear.
And
Look at him. He is out here supporting Ag
He
Gear.
is, isn't he?
Using your code, and you're just dragging his name through the dirt on live television.
All right. Yeah, series of questions. Some from the crowd, some from us. And if you have any, don't be afraid to throw some in, Willie.
I'll be ready.
Okay. But we're going to start with, what's your favorite cut of beef?
Favorite cut of beef? I'm gonna be pretty generic here and just go one of our home raised ribeyes, man.
Just a home raised ribeye.
Inch
Hard to
and a
beat.
quarter thick.
Inch and a quarter, okay.
Yeah.
Inch and a quarter. I like inch and a quarter actually too.
Yeah.
I did inch and a half for a little while, but I moved it back. I like inch and a quarter.
Well, I'm always cooking for the wife, and that inch and a quarter, I feel like, is a happy medium between the inch. She probably, that your wife and mom kind of want that inch thick ribeye, and Dad and I might want the inch and a half, and so we settle right there on that inch and a half.
That's fair. We got a lot in common. How do you like it cooked?
Medium.
Well,
No. No. I'm not going to say medium rare. I know that's probably the generic answer. I'm more of a medium guy.
I am too.
I'm
honestly.
a medium guy.
I mean, I'll go medium rare, but a lot of times if I
will.
ask for medium, I'll get medium rare,
Right.
and I'm okay with that.
That's
But if
right.
I get medium rare and get rare,
Right.
I want it cooked more.
I'm with you. I think they they go one notch above what you mean them to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's your thoughts on steak sauce?
On our stuff, you better not. There might be a time and a place for it. I don't know. I don't want my picture taken with steak sauce. We worked too hard to put the
This
sauce
one
on
brought
the
to you
steak.
by A1 Steak Sauce. No.
No, we really don't care. I mean, all jokes aside, at the end of the day, it's all about getting as much beef into the mouth of the consumer as possible.
Yeah, however you want it.
However you want it. If you need to put ketchup on it, you just get those pounds of beef down.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
I like that.
The per head pounds of beef. We want that going up.
What's your favorite breed of cattle, and why is it Red Angus?
It's not Red Angus.
I know it's
Yeah,
not. I
I have a
know.
lot of respect for them. That's a loaded question. We raise multiple breeds of cattle. So either way, that is the hot seat question.
It is, because I get asked the same thing, and they're like, "You sell 3 breeds. Which one's the
Yeah,
best?" And I'm like, "Well, it depends."
We're 2 now, soon to be 3. So
Yeah? Tell me more about that.
yeah, we'll get to that in a sec.
Okay.
So my favorite at the moment, I would say, is definitely the Brangus breed.
Okay.
And I say that.
What our light? Did I kick it?
Tucker,
I kicked the light.
oh my goodness. Everyone stand by.
I might have. I don't know. What did I do? Did I touch it? This is the power cord, isn't it?
Did you hit a switch?
No. Everything else staying on. See if it'll come on now.
Did this die or did the
No.
ring light?
Yeah, it's getting power right there. We're back.
Keep it rolling.
Lights back on. Welcome back to the hot seat. What were we saying? Brangus.
So yeah, my personal favorite is definitely the Brangus breed, and I'm probably a little biased there as well. I'm pretty heavily involved in the Brangus Association at the moment, and but no,
Are you obligated to say that since you're part
I'm
of the
not being
association?
paid. I'm not being paid, so I can say whatever I want.
Okay.
But no, in our environment, man, these Brangus cattle, we have the ability to make them grade like an Angus, And I say that, and there's going to be guys that listen to this podcast and scoff at me. You can't make your cattle great, or this and that and other.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel like they sound just like that, honestly.
yeah, they do. They do. They get real gruff and they get real defensive, and the ears cattle aren't good. And man, we've got the data, and you can't prove to me that that's the case. We've got our own feed yard data from the past 10 years. Yeah, we know what adding them to the breed mix does. We know the premiums on those grids we can achieve if we do it right. If we're careful with our bull selection, we know what the maternal ability of these. Is that a word? Maternal ability?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with
It's a word to me.
Yeah. Maternal ability, doability of the cows, stayability, heat tolerance. We don't have hair shed problems. They're extremely heat tolerant. I know thermotolerance is a big issue in our industry today. And, as long as we manage that amount of dewlap and leather, we still have the ability to target those CAB premiums that the Angus associations put out there. And I'm not against them either. Big, we were an Angus producer ourselves, Black Angus. And that's a great association as well. And great cattle. I think if you breed them correctly, pay attention for hair shed, they can still work in our area. But yeah, right now my favorite breed would be the Brangus breed. Yeah.
Well, I think Florida has done a better job than probably any state at fitting the cow to the environment. Part of it because you're forced to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Florida probably sees more economic value in having the cow match. I'm going to go the other way. They probably see more detriment to their dollar if they don't match the cow to the environment.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if the cow's shaded up, we're hot for so many months out of the year, and our days are so long, especially this time of the year, and it's pretty miserable most of the time. I probably shouldn't say that with all the people we got moving there. They disagree with me, but when you're out working in it or building fence or processing cattle, or it's hot.
Yeah.
And if she's shaded up or she's standing belly deep in a water hole, she's not grazing. If she's not grazing, she's either not gaining weight or not maintaining weight at least. And so we really have to fit our cows to the environment to withstand the temperatures. We need a bigger middled cows, what we say. I don't know if those of the viewers outside the industry would know what we mean there. But with that, we mean we need a cow with a lot of gut capacity. Our grasses are very washy, and I'm using still industry terms, and I'm trying to get out of them for the sake of this. But, that means our grass lacks quality. It doesn't have that dense nutrient value that, like, what we would see out here in West Texas and some of this brush country where they don't receive much rainfall. Historically, we receive a lot of rainfall, sometimes too much, to our detriment. And our grasses really lose their energy and protein values. And so we need a cow that, if she has a certain calorie intake per day, she's going to have to eat X amount more pounds of forage than she would, say, at the R.A. Brown Ranch.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
It is, because 30 pounds of grass in North Texas is not going to be the same amount of calories intake as 30 pounds of Florida grass would be.
Yeah, she might not even be halfway to where she needs to be.
Right, because Texas would have less grass, but the grass would be stronger.
Absolutely.
And then Florida, you do have a whole lot more grass. But what's the saying? They're belly deep in grass and starving.
Yeah, there's cattle that'll perish away on belly deep grass
because they can't eat enough.
They cannot eat enough. There's just not enough nutrients in it. It's just like just consuming water over and over and over.
Yeah.
And it just washes right through you. And you guys know from a health and fitness standpoint, you got to have enough protein, whether you're a cow or a human, to keep going, or enough protein, energy. And so you'll have to supplement those cows with some sort of protein source, just mainly something to keep that rumen humming along and help them get enough grass down. And those rumen bugs really attach to it and make the most out of it. So we have to have a big ruminant cow, cow that has a lot of room to eat that forage. She needs to be good-footed, but I don't think that's unique to us. I think they need to be good-footed, whether they're out here or down there. You know,
Fair.
that's one of my biggest pet peeves as a cattle breeder is I think we've all as an industry got to do ourselves a big service and chase these feet a little more.
Agreed.
Run after these feet, I
Agreed.
guess, would be that. I think, you know, where we're at, we don't trim feet. Unpopular opinion. We don't, and I know have guys come at me for that, but we don't trim feet, and she's got to drag a calf to the pen as close to every 365 days of the year, on a 365 day a year cycle, I should say, as she can. We don't roll over cattle, and you know, really like for our donor cows, we chase. We would like to see some 4 or 5 years of production out of them, holding up in that environment. And the reason I kind of say that about us is that cow that it takes to thrive there, she has to be acclimated. And if she can't prove she can do it down there, then we don't have any business mass propagating those genetics, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and by rollover, you're saying if one doesn't breed, she doesn't stay in the herd.
If one doesn't breed, someone else needs to own her, most likely the packer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you're keeping her another year or another 6 months to try
no.
to keep breeding her.
No, we can't afford that. If she doesn't bring us a coupon or a calf, we've got to. She going. Yeah, she's going.
On to the next job of feeding the world.
On to the next one. Isn't that what Dale says?
On to the next one.
On to the next one. Man, that's so unique. Yeah, Florida is very unique in that way. Last question of the Ag Gear hot seat. Who do you think has the best state cattle convention?
Florida, of course.
Yeah, there ain't no belly flop competition as far as I know in Texas.
It's true.
Hands down, Florida. Now I say that, and I haven't been to all of them, but
Of course,
and
Florida.
I've got guys probably blowing their heads off right now at how mad they are at that answer. But no, it definitely Florida. I mean, everybody comes. Marco Island. I mean, you've been there many times, Tucker. How gorgeous is it down there?
Unreal.
I mean, just you don't have to leave. You can stay there.
Yeah.
You know, we got a great staff at the association that does a phenomenal job putting it all together. A great group of volunteer leaders. And I think we get a lot of business done. And the networking second to none. But I think we might play harder than anybody else, too.
You play harder than anywhere I've ever been.
Okay.
Work hard, play hard.
And like I've never known business not to get done.
No. And then the business end doesn't slack.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the Florida motive is we'll play as hard as anybody, but we don't let the business end slack either. So.
And I get a lot of people that whenever they ask me that and I say Florida is the best convention I've been to, they're like, well, they do it at the beach and they've got this. And I was like, they may be at the beach. They may be at a really gorgeous place. But there is a whole lot of people that never go to the beach that go to that convention because they're staying at the pool. They're staying in the convention center. They got the games for the kids. There's plenty of places to get food and drink there.
Yeah, it's a whole family. It's a whole family.
Yeah. Well, you really got me thinking,
Yeah.
man. I mean, I've been going for a while. And when you said that, I've never sat on the beach.
Yeah.
I think I've walked on the Marco Island beach one time in all the years. But other than that, I don't think, and I think I was in boots when I did that. But
As you should.
Yeah, I don't think I ever took time to go to the beach. Just like you said, we never make it past the pool and all the other, business events and meetings and things. And it's a great environment. Man, I'm looking forward to it.
You're rubbing it in now.
Yeah.
'Cause this will be the first
It's
year
like
that
10
I
days
don't
away.
go. I know.
You going to be there, Tucker?
I'm not. Man, that ranch water sounds pretty good over there.
Oh, womp
I'll
womp.
have to get you on later.
So sad.
Just to relive the moment and think I'm there. Maybe I can talk Dad and my wife into go.
It's not
really,
too late.
Really, my dad's like, let's go.
Yeah,
you
I
come
heard
on.
him on the pod the other day. Aren't you going to Florida? And you had to say no.
Yeah,
He sounds like he's bought in with you going.
he listens to the pod though. Did you hear that?
Yeah, he's a true fan.
That's what I like to hear.
He's a true fan. I do have a question. So let's say you get a weather alert and you guys know a hurricane's about to hit. What kind of preparation do you guys do in advance before that hurricane hits? Because that's like something like I know like that at our ranch, like if we know there's a big thunderstorm coming, like
Yeah,
we do
have
a couple
thunderstorm and tornado or hail.
Yeah, we do a couple little things to go and try and prepare, like some damage risk or management. I don't know what the right word would be, but what I'm sure it is full scale. You guys have a whole protocol. What are you guys doing as far as like moving cattle? Is there anything like what does that look like?
Yeah, Willie, that's a phenomenal question, actually. And it's not a short answer either. So you guys may have to cut me off, but
No, you're good.
the thing about a hurricane is generally, I shouldn't say always, but generally we have a fair heads up. Sometimes it's 5-7 days, sometimes it's only 3 days, and some of your preparation depends on where it's heading in the sense of are we in bullseye or are we on the edges. Let me kind of walk you through last year. I mean, when it looked like it was coming bullseye, I mean, I was sending Tucker snaps, and he was snapping me like, "Are y'all gonna be okay?" And I was like, "I don't know."
Yeah, that's exactly how.
And so we had cattle. We've got a ranch called 2 Mile Ranch that we manage, and it's 2 Mile Creek Ranch. We run several of our commercial cow herds there, and on one side of the road of it, it's high hills and things, and it gets drier up there. And then the bulk of the ranch is kind of in what we call bottoms along that 2 Mile Creek, and that area is really prone to flood. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a flash flood area.
Yeah.
For reference, we were calving AI calves. The hurricane was coming on their due date. Some of them come early. So we're having 40, 50 calves a day, just spitting them out. And we're looking at a hurricane bearing down on us. So my dad and I and several of the other guys on the ranch, we saddled up early one morning and just took out. And it's kind of big country down in there. So it's not like, just a little trap and go push them out.
Yeah.
And we also really couldn't use the dogs to our advantage because the calves were so fresh. You're dealing with day-old calves, and not that the dogs aren't under control, because they are, but just those mamas and their ferocious mother instincts, and we love them for that. We want them to be doing that, to fight off natural predators. So we went in there, and we couldn't ride the horses fast because those calves wouldn't walk, and the storm's bearing down on us. I mean, we're less than 24 hours from kickoff. And we didn't have much warning on this hurricane. And we pushed them out of there, got them across the creek, and then we had one more creek to go, and it was too deep. The calves couldn't cross it, but we knew if we left them, they would drown. And so the cows went across. That was another challenge. Oh. And they're standing on the other side bawling.
Yeah.
And we had to get off horseback, all of us did, and we dogged every calf. And
by that, you mean you caught them?
Yeah, that's right. And we caught every calf and either walked them across that creek, which it was about chest deep on us with high banks.
Possible alligators.
Okay,
yeah. I didn't think.
But most of the time we got all those calves. It took about 6 hours. We got all those calves to the other side, remounted, pushed the cows to as high ground as we had. That had interior, and this is the other big thing, Willie, is getting those cattle. And this ranch is away from our headquarters and away from where us and the rest of the herdsmen live. Is we don't have anybody on site there, so they have to travel to it. We pushed them into interior fences and made sure we had more than one fence between them and a highway or any sort of hazard.
Yes, sir.
And out of a flood zone. And believe it or not, even though we had plenty of grass, we put hay out in there with them. And because for many reasons, we didn't know how long exactly it would be until we got back to them.
Get eyes on them again.
Yeah, exactly. And we made sure they had natural water available. So we're not worried about, well water or any power sources running out, or even if it's on solar wells, if we don't see the sun for a couple of days, things like that. So we got those cattle kind of squared away, and we did that on each place. Some places are harder to prepare for than others. And then as soon as the hurricane passes, it's kind of, you're like, man, we survived. Then we got to go check on our cattle, right?
Yeah.
And so then the big thing is fences. And last year we had to cut our way down the highway. It took hours just to get to the ranch.
Because the trees down?
Yeah, trees down, power lines down. We've been very fortunate. We got a great ag commissioner in Florida, and he's a big friend of the industry. And, they actually make it illegal for you to move around. There's curfews and restrictions.
Really?
To keep the public safety out.
Yeah.
And we got like a notice, or we got a waiver. That's what it is.
Okay.
Ag
A
waiver.
exemption.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we all had, us and all the guys at the ranch had them in our pickups. That, you know, we had our
That allow you to be out
allowed
past
us
the
to be out
curfew when
past
there's
the
not the public.
curfew or during the storm. You know, because the last thing we wanted was for a cow to get out on the highway. Something happened to her. Something happened to the general public and run
Yeah.
into it. It's our livelihood, but at the end of the day, that the money's not the most important part. It's keeping those people safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah, people and livestock.
people and livestock, absolutely. Yeah.
That's a lot of prep.
But does
Yeah.
that kind of answer what you?
Oh,
what you're
100%,
thinking? Yeah, we
yeah.
bring the cow dogs inside, batten down the hatches. You know, tie your porch swing down.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I was because in Maryland, like nowhere close to as many hurricanes or the threat
Yeah.
to you guys. But I remember like Sandy hit, and like I experienced that, and like thinking back to, it, I was like, I wonder what like the herd management looks when you're preparing for something like that. And that's kind of, you answered all the questions. Like, are you moving them to high ground,
Yep.
kind of removing them from a flood zone, or like you said with the water, like a lot of wells there, and a lot of those pastures, I bet you like maybe the only water source is a well that you guys have to think about. Well, if we lose power, this pasture really isn't usable at all. And like everything that you guys are having to go through and think about, I was really curious about that.
Yeah, and so after the hurricane, you're either hauling water or, you know, as the ranch, we invested because we've been dealing with these couple years.
Yes, sir.
We invested kind of in a string of generators. And
heck yeah.
so, unfortunately, a lot of times if we don't have natural water in pastures, we're taking generators
Yeah.
around after the hurricane and running wells, you know, that are retrofitted to run off generator
Dang.
and things like that. You know, my dad has like a whole home generator at his house. We don't. My wife and I don't. But wish we did.
Yeah.
But you know, that's kind of the struggle. You know, and then you're working, but that, you know, we didn't have anything to complain about. You know, some of those people up in South Georgia were out of power 45 plus days, man. It was,
Golly.
Wow.
yeah.
I'm trying to remember how long my neighborhood didn't have power during Sandy, but I remember like there was just generators buzzing the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. You learn to sleep through them.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yep. It's that white noise.
Yep.
Well, you can get out of the Ag Gear hot seat now.
All right.
So you're out of it. And remember, go to Ag Gear store and online, and
You can
use-
lower that MSRP.
lower the MSRP. Use code Tucker Brown and get 15% off. Don't forget about it. You also get 20% discount on Beck sunglasses.
Ooh, another MSRP. You're welcome, folks, listening.
That discount code is Brown20.
You can thank Hunter because he brought you this podcast that brought you that discount.
Yeah, yeah. I had a good question. Yeah, one of the interesting things I think about on the cow-calf sector of Florida, you talked about you don't have, like, there's not really many feeders over there.
Right.
Packing plants, packing facilities really aren't over there. And so one part Florida really has to think about is getting those calves shipped.
Oh, yeah.
And that shipping price is put into your selling price.
Absolutely, man. So Florida, we have it tough from that standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, and
You got to go halfway across the country.
yeah, absolutely. You know, I was talking to a buddy of mine this morning. What's it cost to get them out here in Texas? Well, it's about 16 cents. You know, and so that's how far back they got to be.
Yeah, off the board.
Off the board, off the market.
Yeah.
You know, so we're going to have that negative basis on those cattle. The other thing is the cattle, yes, but if we have to supplement, the feed's going to have such a positive basis heading.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay a lot more.
Yeah, yeah. So it is not a conducive environment from the shipping standpoint or the bringing in of grain, because we also don't grow a ton of grain.
Yeah.
We do have some grain production up there in my area, but it's nothing like out here.
Yeah, that's something that I realized too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot of. Do y'all send any this way?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Packer calves, feeder calves.
Yeah, we don't have any in Texas right now. We've been feeding a lot in Iowa lately.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I
We've
remember
fed in
that.
Iowa and Nebraska, but I think I've set a deal up this week. I think we've got some cattle coming to Texas.
Attaboy.
Heck yeah.
So we're going to keep some in Iowa and keep some probably in the southern plains as well. Keep cattle in both feeding regions and hedge our bets a little bit.
There you go. Not all your eggs in one basket.
No.
Diversifying right there.
Diversifying,
That's business 101.
Yep, absolutely.
You said we were going to talk about the new breed you may be working with later. Is now the time to talk about it, or is that going to be off air?
We'll keep that off air.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you're going to have to come back on the podcast later.
I'd love to.
to talk
I've
about
For
had
it.
2.0.
2.0.
I'll come back for it because I'm
We're
curious.
going to make a debut, and
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about it, but I probably better not.
Okay, good.
We'll have to come down to Florida on site to do the podcast.
Come
I
on.
guess we're gonna have to go to Florida.
I'm setting it up. I'll be there.
I
I'll
hate
be
that
there.
for you, but
I know. I know.
Yeah, I hate that for you too, Tucker. I'm excited.
You're welcome too, Willie.
Can I shoot an alligator? I really want
Get you a tag.
Let's
yeah.
go. I wanna
On
shoot
air.
an
Yeah, we'll
alligator.
get you a tag.
Get you a
We're doing the podcast.
on record.
On record. We're getting tags.
We're getting tags. I'm all about doing it the right way. I get the game warden coming up. I was listening to that podcast.
Yeah. We don't need them knocking on the
No,
gate when
we
I
do
get
not
back
want-
from.
No. What? And so I do. This will take us to my next favorite, or the one of my favorites segments of the podcast. The Bedrock Tough Question. So Bedrock is the truck beds that we use on the ranch because they are the toughest.
They're so tough.
Dude, they are the toughest
I
truck
tried
beds
punching it. It
that we
hurt.
use. And so, if you need a Bedrock truck bed, if you need a truck bed in general, flatbed, look them up. They're really great. That's why we use them, because they work and they're tough. So the Bedrock Tough Question: what is the toughest thing about ranching in Florida, or the cattle industry in Florida? It doesn't have to be ranching, but cattle and beef industry in Florida.
I think, for me, Tucker, we hit on probably the economic challenges a minute ago with the basis on freight, and then the basis bringing in
know I had my
supplemental
name.
feeds.
I didn't know I had my name tag on.
Yeah, you've had
This
it on the
whole
whole time, so I'd know who you are.
Gosh, and now I can't take it off because my headphones are in.
It's stuck now.
Gosh.
But
Okay, sorry, I
you're
interrupted you.
good. We so I would say outside of those production factors, the single hardest thing about ranching in Florida is urban sprawl and urbanization.
Ooh, that was going to be I was about to write that question down. I'm glad you touched this. Let's go.
Yeah. So Florida, we've got over 1,000 people a day moving there. Last time I looked,
A day.
a day.
That's a lot of people. That's pretty much the town of Throckmorton every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. I'm trying to think of how to be politically correct and says I'm not a fan.
It causes a lot of problems for the ag industry, right?
I like it. I'm not a fan.
just visit and don't stay.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, come visit.
Come visit.
Just don't stay.
Yeah. So we don't have, obviously, we're like Texas. We don't have an income tax. You guys don't have an income tax
Right.
either, right? And so big draw to move there. Everybody wants to live in paradise, or what they think is paradise, where they're moving to, and those little, thank God I don't have to live where they're moving to. That's all I'm going to say
Yeah.
about that. But there is a big draw from outside the state.
Where are they coming from?
Man, they're coming from everywhere.
I didn't know if there was like a
Maryland.
Yeah.
certain part, but they are just coming from
They're
everywhere.
coming from everywhere. And
Has the political changes in the past 5 years increased that?
yeah, so when we had DeSantis really take that stand in COVID and kind of keep us open compared to the rest of the country, it was like you left the gate open, man. They really
running.
came. They really came. We were thankful we had the freedoms, and we had the freedoms every American deserved at the time.
Yeah.
And we were just one of the only places that had it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't blame those people for wanting to come out of where they came from. I'll never blame those people. If it would have been my wife and my family somewhere else, I'd have wanted to get them there too. But yeah, with that being said, just the loss of ranch land and the, loss of production ground, and the land prices have really made Florida, that would be a challenging place to ranch in its current environment.
Right.
Because if you're buying land, oftentimes you're having to bid in developer price.
Uh-huh.
You're having to buy that developer out. And so right now I would say the solution to that, if you want to go there, is we do in Florida, we're very blessed to have an agricultural easement program called the Florida Rural and Family Lands Program. And what they are doing is buying the development rights off of large landowners, and it's a less than fee land acquisition. So the rancher maintains ownership of the land, and they are allowed to continue running their cattle and maintain their ag operation the way it's always been done. And not have to change their production practices. Really, they're able to keep putting food on America's table, and all they're giving up in exchange for money,
Correct.
is the development rights. So we keep the cows on there. Cows keep Florida green. Shout out Pat
There it
Durden.
is. Patty D.
But yeah, we're keeping cows on the land doing that, and other ag as well. I shouldn't just say cows. You know, there's vegetable farms and tree farms and things like that. But that would be the solution to it. Is increased funding for that. And other than that, man, I don't know how else to stop it. I mean, I don't think the gate's left open. I think it's off the hinges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right.
I don't think there's any shutting it back.
No. Texas, I found out the other day, I went to the U.S. Roundtable for Sustainable Beef Convention. It was in Fort Worth. It just happened to be in Texas this year. Mm-hmm. I got to go to it, and there was a speaker, and she was in Texas alone losing almost 1,050 acres a day of land going to development.
Wow.
And that's just in Texas. So if you're having 1,000 people coming a day to Florida, who knows?
Yeah.
You know what that acre number is that you're, which in Florida I feel like they are really like those houses are built real tight. Yeah, yeah. Whereas in Texas at the moment, a lot of people are buying ranchettes of 10 acres and 5 acres
and to me that unpopular opinion that's a bad land use.
Correct.
It's a bad land use because you're eating up more ground, housing less people.
Very little production
and
comes off of that.
Very little to no hobby production,
if
but hobby production isn't what keeps America fed either.
Right.
So, from an ag standpoint, I would say that's arguably even a worse land use.
Mm-hmm. And I go back and forth, because we talk about the freedoms that America have.
Right.
We have that freedom that if you do have that monetary value to go and buy a 10-acre ranchette or 100-acre ranchette.
You have every right to do so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to throw your horses on it, or
absolutely,
or your barrel horses, or your wild horses, or your 8 longhorn cows, whatever that is. But it does pull it out of agriculture.
Absolutely, yeah. I would never say the landowner doesn't have the right. Everybody's got the right to sell it. Yeah. You got the right to buy it, and I would never want to infringe on anybody's property rights. No, absolutely. It's an opinion that it's probably not what's best for ag, but that doesn't matter at the end of the day. Those are those people's rights, and they deserve them.
Yeah, agreed. You have one of my favorite lines, actually.
Okay.
I'm going to let you say it. I'm just going to hint to what it is, but it's about concrete.
Okay.
You remember what it is?
Yeah. So, I mean, where we're at, we always kind of say concrete's the last crop.
Yeah.
And, that unfortunately, once you lay that down, there's no coming back. You might see pine trees getting turned back into pasture, or pasture back into pine trees, or a cornfield going back into pasture, vice versa. You get the hint, converting from one form to another. But when you lay down that concrete, when you put down a shopping center,
it ain't.
Or a neighborhood.
Back to it being.
You've never seen anybody tear a neighborhood down and put it back in pasture, have you?
No.
Yeah.
Never have. Never have. Last crop. What'd you say? Last crop?
Yeah.
Concrete's the last crop.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite ones because it is so true.
Yeah.
You're like, I'll be dang. Yeah, it is.
Yep. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all. I mean, it's also something Texas and Florida have in common.
Yeah, we do.
Is that issue?
Similar political environments. Fairly similar climates and most of it, I would say. I mean, probably not up here to Amarillo, but I would say y'all's Gulf Coast and ours is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that was the Bedrock Tough question. So, get you a Bedrock truck bed. Go check them out on social media, online. Give them a holler. Get you a Bedrock truck bed.
There's a lot of flatbeds in Florida.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. We don't have as much of the keep the bed on the truck, but the headache rack.
Okay.
Oh.
That's a Texas thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen that in some of the Taylor Sheridan stuff, and I'm like, that is a Texas thing.
Just keeping the bed on, but then having your
you don't see that much. I like the look, not against it. I thought about trying to bring it down there, but we don't have it.
That's pretty good. Well, any other Florida? Like, what else do we need to know about Florida ranching or stories? You got to have some cool stories,
man.
Well, that hurricane one was pretty cool.
Yeah, the hurricane.
That was a good one.
But other than that, I mean, we catch hogs with dogs. But y'all do that out here too. So
we have some of that. I mean, it's
yeah.
not a huge thing,
Not
but we do.
huge, yeah, it's not huge in our area anymore either. But
Still a lot of hunting in Florida.
yeah, good hunting. Yeah, time out there. I don't have a good like Florida man story. Just so.
That's man from Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah, you're good. No, that's fine. Well, no, dude. What you got, Willie?
No, I've enjoyed it. I want to go to Florida. I haven't been to Florida since I was like 10, I think.
Yeah,
I miss it.
Well, we'd love to have you. Come on.
that is a long time.
We don't want you to stay, by the way.
No, I get it. I get
You
it.
have to come back.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Utah or Texas or Maryland, but you just can't stay.
Florida is you can only visit.
Yeah. We're shutting the gate behind
Shut
you.
the
No.
gate.
I mean, what's one more at this point?
Yeah, what's one more?
I can't wait to start my 10-acre coffee farm there.
Well, do you have a favorite Bible verse?
Yeah, I do, man. Thanks for asking. I did. I put some thought in it. Like I said, I've listened to a few of the pods.
Yeah.
Tucker might ask that.
Yeah.
But my favorite Bible verse would be John 14:6. Jesus answered, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." And the reason I picked that one, and boy, it's hard, but I think it just sums up the whole gospel.
There's the answer.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah.
If you had to put it in 2 sentences,
There it is.
There it is. There it is.
Straight to the point.
If you had 10 seconds to tell somebody the gospel,
Yeah.
I think
That's
that's
a good.
it.
John 14:6.
Yeah, I think it's John 14.
John 14.
Somebody may prove me wrong. That's what I had in my notes.
Yeah.
That verse is in there. We might have the
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No, yeah, but that's right. I mean, it's right to the point. Why,
Yeah.
you're looking into it. Why should you look into it? Right here.
Boom. Keeping it simple. I
I guess
like
that's
that.
your Southern Baptist elevator speech.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. We worked on elevator
Yeah.
speeches there at YCC. That was fun. Man, I hope I get to come down there. I may do some talking to the fam. See if we can
Okay.
head down there next 2 weeks or so.
Bring the baby.
Yeah, the baby's got to go to Disney World.
No, 4-year-old needs to go to Disney World. She loves. Holy cow. She loves Disney World. And so does my wife. Is your wife a Disney World lady?
That's a good question.
I feel like most.
Never asked. I didn't want to know.
I feel like Florida locals aren't.
Yeah. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. You don't ask questions you want to know the
Yeah,
answers
she
to.
is probably.
Are you a Disney World guy? No, don't say it now because Hunter's over there and you want to be like, oh, no. You're
I'm
definitely.
not.
He's a Disney dad. He's a Disney
dad.
Hey,
He's a
I
Disney
fit that
dad.
role well. I got 3 girls. I gotta be a Disney
Yeah,
dad,
he
man.
He does.
I'm not judging you. It seems like a cool place.
I gotta be a Disney dad because it's fun.
Do they still have the crash dummy stunt driver like ride where like you're a crash dummy or something?
I remember that as a kid.
That was
but
my
man, I don't
favorite.
know.
That's all I remember as a young
Yeah.
Willie.
Which one?
The crash dummy.
I don't remember that one.
It's like a racetrack. It's pretty sick. I love that.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Gotta check it out.
You got any other questions, Willie?
I ain't got no more.
What's as we end? What's you just always have the good lines, whether you get them from somebody else or not. You always have the good lines. What is the line that Patty D says about staying up late?
Oh man, we broke that out. You sent me that recap from
Yeah.
last YCC
Yeah.
the other day. Man, I can't quote it just how Pat does, but we're talking about staying out all night, and he said, "You can't tell me to have a good time and then schedule a meeting for 7:00 in the morning."
You guys have good fishing?
Yeah.
You have peacock bass at your ranch?
Oh, dude,
Hey,
I catch a peacock.
I want to get a
Got some
peacock
good
bass
bass.
so bad.
Got some good bass.
I ain't got nothing against the large one.
Well, I'm holding it to you that we're going to come to your place in the next 3 years. I don't know when, but we're going to come in the next.
I'm
3
coming.
Come on, we'll do another pod.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what we're going to have to on your big release on that third
Big
breed.
release.
Whatever that is. Whatever that is.
And we're going to legally hunt alligators and catch peacock bass. Legally.
But there are no peacock bass.
I'll find them. I'll go on an adventure.
Hey, Hunter, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you guys. Enjoyed it.
You've been listening to the Registered Rancher Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like it, give us a 5-star review. Really helps the show out a lot. And, yeah, go to registeredranching.com. Get you some merch.
Get the merch.
Hey, new hats coming next week. Maybe
And
2
they're-
weeks.
They're America influence. So if you love America and you love ranching, you'll get a hat.
Amen. That's why you should love Registered Ranching. But until next time, folks, you can't forget Y'all stay classy.
And ranch on them.
And ranch on them. We love you. God bless, folks. Good job, Hunter. It's good. Just to shit, yeah.
You can cut that out and make a TikTok of it.
Yeah,
I don't have Florida.